Okay, let's bring in Youcef Bouandel, who's Professor of Political Science at Qatar University. He joins me from Doha. Welcome to you, Youcef. It's been called vague, this peace plan. I'd call it a bit like a Swiss cheese plan. It's full of holes that need to be filled in with detail. We'll try and rattle through a few of the sort of vague areas. Military presence of Israel, been a massive sticking problem from Hamas all along. It's not really explained here. What do you think is going to happen? Because Israel says it's going to stay.
Well, I think it's very, very vague as a proposal, and maybe it was done deliberately to engage Hamas in the discussions. Obviously, like you said, and your reporters have said, there are so many loopholes in it, and maybe the Hamas leadership needs to have a very detailed look at it. It's a starting point for negotiations. The meeting between Trump and Netanyahu, they discussed this particular proposal, and it seems that on the whole, Netanyahu is reluctantly happy to go ahead with it. Let's wait and see what the Hamas's response would be. Obviously, there are certain sticking points which I think Hamas will probably look at them. And the first point is it mentions that Gaza will be a terror-free zone. In other words, we are dealing not necessarily with a movement that wants to end occupation, but Hamas is seen as a terror organization, and that's, I guess, will be a very main sticking point. Hamas sees itself as a resistance movement, whereas this proposal sees it as a terrorist movement. That will be, in my opinion, one of the sticking points. Secondly, the military presence of Israel in Gaza is not clear. Maybe it's work in progress, a point that will be discussed in negotiations and trying to find out a little bit more about it.
Youcef, I just want to jump in and say, because I think another key point is who's going to oversee security. This plan requires Hamas to give up its weapons, to give up everything that they've been doing. Some of them can leave, it says. And who's going to take over governing the area? It's this unknown ISF, which sounds a bit frighteningly similar to IDF.
Well, I think one of the main points is that Hamas needs to decommission all its weapons, to give up all its weapons, and all the tunnels will be destroyed. I am not sure whether Hamas will accept this particular point. If we go back to history, in 1982, in South Lebanon, when the PLO chairman Yasser Arafat left, the Israeli military came and massacred so many people in concentration camps in Sabra and Shatila. You are asking Hamas to decommission. Secondly, you're telling them that if anybody wants to leave the area, they would be given a safe passage. And most importantly, you're telling Hamas, that you will have no future whatsoever in the running of Gaza. Let's not forget that Hamas was democratically elected to run Gaza. And secondly, it's because of Hamas that the Palestinian question has dominated the news over the last 2 years or so. It's because of what Hamas has done in terms of what it calls resistance to the occupation, that so many countries around the world have recognized Palestine. It's an important gesture, but it's not enough.
Youcef, I just want to jump in because I want to talk quickly about the board of peace, because effectively what you're going to have is this board of people overseeing the region. You're going to have Tony Blair, according to opinion polls, not popular at home, even with members of his own former party. And you're going to have Donald Trump at the top of the tree, the man who has funded, the man who has armed Israel throughout this, who is one of their strongest allies. He'd effectively, wouldn't he, be an unelected leader of Gaza?
Of course. And this is basically one of the issues with this particular proposal. You have the President of the United States who has and his predecessor, who have been supporting Israel to the full. Without the U.S. support, Israel would not have survived over the last couple of years or so, especially when it comes to the war with Iran. And secondly, you have what so many people call a war criminal as far as Tony Blair is concerned. He's not a very popular person in the Middle East or throughout the Arab world when we go back to what he did in Iraq. I guess that will raise several eyebrows in the region, and particularly with Hamas. Let's not forget that Donald Trump, in my opinion, is seeking nomination and winning the Nobel Prize, and that's why he's taking these particular initiatives.
Youcef, great to have you on. My guest, Youcef Bouandel, Professor of Political Science at Qatar University.